What's up, YouTube? So we have another Elden Ring video today. I'm going to be reacting to his other Elden Ring videos. His Elden Ring wants you to play differently, and the what is it? The title says that no, excuse me. The thumbnail says you're playing it wrong. So I've been seeing a lot of these videos going around about, you're playing Elden Ring wrong. And some of them are like, you're playing it wrong. You should be, exploring. You should be, finding things on your own, playing how you want to play, right? Using whatever you want to use. And then you're playing it wrong. And then you have the classic you're playing it wrong where you don't want to use anything. You don't want to be using magic. You don't want to be using skills. You don't want to be building up your armor and your life to be at such a high point where it doesn't even matter if you get hit, like making it less hard. Which in my life in playing RPGs, you're always trying to get as strong as possible to just destroy everything. But then it's like, does it make it less fun and less interesting? Because it's like you see all these people playing these games and you see, or excuse me, playing like the Souls games, and they don't really have anything on. Or like some people do. Some people use skills and use, a bunch of different things. But I'm like, what's the most fun way to play? And to me, the most fun way to play would be using a lot of stuff. But the problem is that Elden Ring is kind of built uh like around you exploring. Like you got to go explore and find these powerful weapons, find these like powerful pieces of gear, find all the different like things to increase the amount of flasks that you have. And I just don't have time to explore Elden Ring like that. So what I've been doing, I've been kind of watching people. I watched Kai Cenat play a large chunk of the first Elden Ring, and I want to kind of watch through that and watch how he progresses as a player through that. But that's not what we're doing today. Today, I just want to watch this. Elden Ring wants you to play differently, and I want to see what this guy has to say about how you're supposed to play Elden Ring. Because what I do is when I want to get into something and I want to learn about something, I go, I take in a whole lot of content about it, and I kind of like pull different information from it and form my own opinion about it and what I want to do going forward. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna check out this video talking about how Elden Ring wants you to play. So let's get into this video.
The focus of Souls games combat has always been an emphasis on timing. Movement in Dark Souls is relatively high commitment, and so when you perform an attack, you won't be able to do anything else until the attack completes and the animation plays out. And so
To be honest, like this is the same thing in fighting games. Like fighting games, very high commitment things. You want to do the most low commitment things you can, but low commitment things are usually low damage, and high commitment things are usually high damage. But if you whiff those high commitment things, like say for instance a Shoryuken, or like like a DP or whatever, or a big special, big super that you throw out and it misses or gets blocked, you get heavily punished for it, right? So it's kind of like the same thing as fighting games. And I did notice that when I play Elden Ring and I'm like dodging certain things, we have invul frames on rolls. There's like the roll in Elden Ring has a bit of startup to it, right? You don't want to press it. I feel like you don't. Well, to me, I feel like you don't want to press it immediately when the attack is about to hit you, kind of like you would if it was a parry, but you want to press it before so you can start up as the move is about to hit you, so you could be in the invulnerability frames, whatever, as the move passes by you. And depending on, you want to do it as early as possible, right? At the earliest time that the invul frames take effect, so that you can last through the entire attack if it's a longer attack with a bigger active hitbox or something like that, right? Same thing from fighting games. I pull all this stuff from fighting games because that's what I play. But let's go.
So pretty much in all Souls games, combat is about finding openings.
Yep.
It's about finding an opportunity to attack. It's about finding an opportunity to heal. You dodge, block, and position yourself so that you can take advantage of that opportunity, and when finally the moment comes, you attack as much as you can. This rhythm is the heart of Souls combat. It's one of the very main reasons that Souls games became popular in the first place. And it's pretty much maintained itself unchanged since the days of Demon Souls. And Elden Ring is no different.
I've played
Elden
Demon
Ring
Souls.
has that same heart.
Oh
of
my
Dark
God.
Souls. It's about
I've
finding
fought
and
these
taking
before.
advantage of opportunities. But it's also doing something different. It's doing something interesting, and that's what I want to talk about today in this video. You see, in the previous games, when I say taking advantage of an opening, I mean something very specific. Exploiting an opportunity in those games is synonymous with pushing the R1 button. At least it is when we're talking about boss battles. There are caveats, of course. Some weapons had R2 attacks that were very useful against some enemies, and some of them were very useful in PvP. And in Dark Souls 3 you had weapon arts, and some of those weapon arts were useful in the previous situations, and some of them were even useful in boss battles, sometimes. But even with those caveats, I think my point stands. Generally, during a boss battle, when you find an opening, you're doing standard R1 attacks. Generally.
Well, no. I maybe so, but like I'm very, very, very early in the game, so I don't have any skills. I don't have any I really don't have any like stats like to put into stuff. I have a couple of stats, and I'm just kind of struggling to find like my groove in this game because I usually get stuck in the beginning of the game. Not even stuck because I can't beat anything necessarily, because you can just explore and travel around in Elden Ring, and like you don't have to fight the Tree Sentinel, but you end up wanting to beat the Tree Sentinel like as soon as possible. But then like when you don't, you sit there and you'll fight it and fight it and fight it, and you don't want to leave. Now maybe that's something where it's like a content creator thing in my brain, because I notice like a lot of people do that. It's like it's an ego thing where it's like, I don't want this to defeat me. It's like if other people can beat this, then I can beat it too, right? So that's why you get kind of stuck. You don't get stuck because you can't beat it. You get stuck because you want to beat it and you don't want to leave there until it's done.
And there's usually a good reason for that. They don't do that much more damage than a normal R1. And for R2s to reach maximum damage, they would need to be charged, which would have you staying in place for much longer than is
I don't ever charge my
during
attacks
a boss battle.
Maybe I should try.
They're just impractical. They're riskier to do, they don't do enough damage to compensate the risk that you put yourself in.
Does it?
And generally, spamming R1 will end up doing more DPS anyway. But now it looks like Elden Ring is trying to change that. Elden Ring has added mechanics that I think are designed to incentivize the player to play slightly different when it comes to melee combat against bosses, and I guess some regular enemies as well. I'm talking about the stagger meter. In Elden Ring, there's an invisible posture bar that all enemies have. When you deplete that bar, the enemies are opened up for a critical strike that's similar to a riposte after a parry. It's similar to the posture bar that enemies had in Sekiro, or maybe a more comparable example is the posture bar that enemies have in Ghost of Tsushima. And the interesting thing about this posture bar is that you're very unlikely to break it with just R1 attacks. And that's true even if you're using a big weapon like a claymore and two-handing it. R1s by default seem to have a very low posture breaking ability, regardless of what weapon you're using. On the other hand, fully charged R2s do massive damage to the posture bar. And in fact, they've been buffed quite a bit because they do like 3 times the damage of a normal swing. I tried it with several weapons, and pretty much all the ones that I checked, the fully charged R2 did about 3 times as much damage as a normal R1 for that same weapon. It was crazy. Jumping R2s also do decent damage, and they do big damage to the stagger bar. And it works similarly for the other new mechanic, the guard counter that you can do. It also does a lot of damage to the enemy posture. Now all of this is told to the player in the opening tutorial when you played the network test, but I kind of overlooked it and didn't realize how important it was going to be until later down the line when I fought Margit the Fell Omen. Margit messed me up. He beat me so many times that I had to start experimenting with other stuff. And that's when I started experimenting with jump attacks, fully charged R2s, and shield counters. And what I noticed was that the times that I just used R1s, Margit would not get staggered even once. And that was even in fights where I had gotten his health so low that I almost killed him. But when I started weaving in these new mechanics, charged R2s, guard counters, and jumping R2s, it became rare from then on for me not to get 3 or 4 posture breaks and be able to critical strike all those times.
Okay.
And I'm talking about with small weapons like longsword and scimitar. More importantly though, just look at this footage. Look at how cool you could look if you're playing with all these new mechanics. Having to make these new risk-reward decisions with these new mechanics feels amazing.
This is the
And
stuff
I'm
I need
fairly
to
sure
know
that it's
about
intentional. I think the game is trying to guide you to play this way. I think that
because I actually played Demon Souls in the past. I had Demon Souls, not from PS5, from the PS3 version, because my friend let me borrow it and he wanted me to play it, and I tried playing it, and I played it for a little bit, and it was pretty hard. Didn't beat it. I don't think I ever beat any bosses. Didn't really get that far in it, right? But I've experienced the game. Then later on, there's more Demon Souls or Dark Souls games came out. Another one of my friends who was into Dark Souls made sure that everybody he knew played Dark Souls. So I played again. I tried the game out. I never really got into it. I also got into playing. I've never beaten any of these Souls games. I've never gotten too far in any of these Souls games because I was just like, why am I playing this game? Why is this game why do people play this game? And so then I think I played what else? The game that I bought, which the one with the samurai. I forgot the name of that game. It's not Sekiro. It came out before Sekiro, and there was a second one. I forgot what it was called. But I played that game. I bought that game. I played it. I think I got to the first boss, and I was just like, no, absolutely not. and then later on when Elden Ring was coming out, I was like, I'm probably not going to play Elden Ring. Bought Elden Ring. I have Elden Ring. I bought it twice. I have it on PS5, and I played a nice amount of it. I did beat Margit, and I beat the Tree Sentinel before, and that's nothing, right? That's nothing. That's another thing where it's in my head, it's oh, beating the first two bosses, oh, who cares? Everybody does that. People speed run this game and beat the crap out of everything. They know exactly where to go and all the things to get, but that's because they played the game for a really long time and they know where everything is and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, I can see why it's fun. Now, later on, I can see why it's fun. I can see why people play this game. It's very, very rewarding, especially when you've been sitting there for hours and hours and hours, and you've just been banging your head against this boss, trying to beat this boss, and trying to figure out how you can dodge enough of his stuff and what's gonna miss you, how to deal with his attacks, and then finding the openings and attacking. And it's funny because everybody deals with these bosses very differently when they first come into the game. When I was watching Kai Cenat fight the Tree Sentinel, I found out that if you on one of his attacks, if you roll toward him, because I understand hitboxes and in both frames and stuff like that, that if I rolled toward him, it wasn't it was in it was when he's in his first stage where he's not doing the shield attacks, right? And he jumps and he swings down to the side. And I noticed that if I rolled into the front of the side of the horse underneath the axe, I would be able to get a hit or two in before, 2 hits in before he would swing his third hit, because the second hit would completely miss me every single time. So I knew that when he swung down, that I could roll under it, and then he would swoop up, and then that would completely miss me, and I would be fine as long as I was point blank up against the side of the horse, and I get 2 hits, and then he would swing. He would go up and he would swing down, and there was either a fast hit or there was a delayed hit, and I would usually be able to react to that. It's not too hard to react to, and then roll out of the way. Make sure you're not near the horse, because if you're near the horse, then the horse will do a side attack and try to hit you. So I figured all this stuff out, and then when I was watching Kai Cenat fight this the Tree Sentinel, I noticed that the same attack that I was rolling into next to the horse, he would roll away from, right? And I was just man, just roll into the side of the horse. I wish I could tell him, but I was watching it on YouTube, and not even if I was watching him on stream, my my message would get lost in the ether. But it didn't matter. So it was just he ended up beating it, but he beat it completely differently, and everybody beats it completely differently when they first come in contact with it, because they have to figure out all the ways that they're losing. They have to adapt to what's going on. They have to adapt once his health gets down to 50% and he starts doing the other attacks, right? There's so many different things that that people are looking at, and it shows how people learn these games and how people get around them. and then like everybody does it without using summons and does it without using magic, because I'm sure that if you came back with like some magic and some and summons, you'd be able to just take them out like super easy, and it would be less rewarding to do it that way, right? But I feel like if I were to like get the really cool stuff that I would want, I wouldn't go back to like, I wouldn't wait to fight these people or fight these bosses and stuff like that until like way later on after I've gotten everything, right? But like I feel like you should be able to like gradually increase your power, gradually increase your strength, and then you like, so like you fight the tree sentinel first, and that is like a wake up call. And then like after you do that, you go end up fighting like the there's like another boss in the cave that I don't even know what it is because I've never gone down there and like went through the wall, because I was like, I don't even know what boss this is. I don't even know if I want to get into this right now. So I might be starting over and fresh and just posting my playthrough of it. I'm not really sure yet because there's a lot of stuff going on with Elden Ring. I mean, with other games and stuff like that. But I am very interested in like learning about Elden Ring, and so that I can like get into it and feel rewarded in playing and feel confident in what I'm doing in the game, right? That's just how I would go about it, and then like gradually, as I get stronger, I'm like, okay, well, I know I can do this amount of damage to this boss now, or I have to hit this boss this less amount of times now. You know what I mean? Like there's just so many different ways to like deal
As
with
you
this
proceed down the game past the network test, more and more enemies and bosses are going to try and incentivize you to use the posture breaking mechanics more and more. And not just in the game, I think the marketing material actually hints at how you're supposed to play as well. In the gameplay reveal, you had a guy using a greatsword. And even though he was using a greatsword and not a shield, he used the greatsword to block and used that block to guard counter, showcasing that it could be done. But I think
didn't
also
see any
that
of the
it
marketing.
should be done.
None of it.
That you should take advantage of the guard counter even if you're using a two-handed weapon. And later down the line,
didn't even
they
know
showed
about
off
that.
a very well-timed fully charged R2, which posture broke the dragon, and then he went in for a riposte. Or I guess it's not a riposte, a critical strike. So yes, I think the game is trying to lead us away from traditional R1 spams when it comes to battle. Hello, future Redditoster here.
That's
While I was editing the video, after I had already
that's good to
recorded
know.
the audio, I had an idea of how I could test whether my theory was correct. I thought to myself, if Elden Ring wants you to block two-handed, at least more than they wanted you to in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3, then it stands to reason that the amount of damage that swords reduce when you're two-handing them blocking would be greater than normal. Lore Hunter helped me find out what the guard values were for the regular longsword. Many thanks to him, by the way. And I compared them to the values that we had in Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. And indeed, I was right. The defense values for the longsword was much higher in Elden Ring, giving you a 65% damage reduction, which is 20% higher than what it was in Dark Souls 3, which was only 45%. And I'm not the only one who's noticed. In that Edge magazine interview for Miyazaki, they also talked to Vati, the biggest Dark Souls lore YouTuber. And Vati talked about this specific subject. This is what he had to say about it. You will find yourself deviating away from just R1s and realizing, oh my god, R2s are insane. I fought a boss with R1 and I didn't stagger it at all, but then I fought it weaving in some R2s and staggered it multiple times, and I could do multiple crits. Traditionally, it was never wise in Dark Souls to use R2s in combat. It was more of a niche button. After many hours with Elden Ring, I was happy to see that combat has deepened. There was also a Reddit post called You're Playing It Wrong, a comprehensive guide of how I think Elden Ring's combat works. And that post is basically making the same points. That Elden Ring is trying to guide us away from just...
So I freaking don't really... So no, actually I do use R2, but I've not like... I don't know how to fight in this game. I don't know how to fight in this game. I didn't know how the posture mechanic worked. Like I didn't know how like breaking posture works in this game. Like I think I've done it maybe a few times and not really understood like how many times I gotta hit this character or this boss or whatever to like stagger him so that I can poke him in his face. Like the first time it happened, this time that I was playing most recently, he went down and I was like, what am I supposed to do? And then I like walked to him and I start wailing on R1. And or did I start hitting R1? I don't know, because I hit him a whole bunch of times. I didn't do the critical strike. So like maybe I wasn't standing in the right spot or something like that, but I didn't do the critical strike, and I just started wailing on him with attacks, and I was just like, I just got to hit him as much as I can before he stands back up. And because I wasn't sure if there was a critical strike thing for it, and I was like, I don't remember, because like I don't really play the games like that, right? So
Spamming on ones. And that he thinks people haven't really noticed it yet because we're set in our ways from having played so many Souls games at this point. Let
Yeah,
me
not
just
me.
quote a little bit of what he says. Also, a lot of people have already noticed that the roll animation covers less distance and has less iframes than we are used to.
Does it?
This is because you're not supposed to roll through everything, and instead learn to mix your rolls with your blocks, which also allows you to use the block.
That's the other thing. I don't be blocking nothing either, because I'm like, man, blocking is too easy. Like, blocking something with a shield is too easy. And if I can't block it, then it's like I only have the starting shield, the wooden shield or whatever, right? And I'm like, if I can't block it with a shield, then I'm not supposed to be blocking it. I'm supposed to be rolling around it. And then like the only other shield that I saw people use is the turtle shell shield. And I don't know what that turtle shell shield is, but I feel like that turtle shell shield is super OP for blocking. Like, it seems like people get it and they use it to block everything. Like, I haven't seen it. I'm just assuming, based on it being a turtle shell, that it's an OP shield that will block damn near everything. Like, that's what I'm just assuming. So I was like, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to just hold the block button and then just poke everything, right? Like, I feel like that's just too easy, right? Because like with the wooden shield that I have, when I go up to the what was it, the guards that have like either a hammer, the dude hit my shield with a hammer, and I was like, clearly I'm not supposed to be blocking that. Then then the other guy walks up to me with a spear, and I'm like, okay, I'm not supposed to be blocked. I guess I'll pull my two swords back out, because like this time I used a warrior, but usually I pick the samurai, and it seems like almost everyone picks the samurai. I was gonna pick the vagabond, the dude that has like a metal shield and heavier armor, and I was like, but then I won't be able to roll like well. So I don't know if I want to use that. And then I was like, man, I'm gonna go pick the guy so I can roll better and have like medium armor or whatever, and roll better. So like, it's just, that's what I've been seeing, and I feel like my brain has been insanely tainted by everything I've seen from Elden Ring and Dark Souls games to play this way, and playing it any other way seems, one, impossible, because I'm like, I don't even know where to go to get the things that I would want to use, or like with these really cool powers and these cool like weapon arts and stuff like that. I don't even know where to get them from, and I'm like, well, I would have to look them up, and I'm like, well, everybody else found them on their own, right? And then I'm like, well, maybe not everybody. Like, a lot of people probably just looked it up. I do this for other games. I do this for fighting games. I just look stuff up. I look up combos. I look up how other people play the character, and I learn how to play the character that way. But for some reason in Elden Ring, I just don't want to do that. I guess it's like this game really brings out your ego. It's insane.
Counters. This way the Sekiro elements really start to shine, since you have to be absolutely reactive in your blocks, and the combat starts to become something far greater than just big Dark Souls. It's beefier and more agile at the same time. A complex
Like, I wouldn't even know that I could block that.
This guy then goes on to explain how he thinks that Margit is supposed to be a kind of wall that forces you to engage with all of these different melee mechanics. I won't go into the specifics, you can read his post, I'll link it in the description. But seeing as how Margit was the way that I came to realize the utility of these mechanics, I think that...
Bro, when I beat character, when I beat Margit, my health bar was nowhere near that long, bro. Dude, my health bar was nowhere near that long, and I felt really like accomplished that I beat him, but like, I feel like if me having that much health, and then sometimes I see people, I didn't even realize how many flasks you could actually have. Like, I've seen people that have like what, 10, 12 flasks, more than that sometimes, where you just have tons and tons of heals and a really long health bar, and then it heals a lot. And I'm just like, I don't use any of this stuff. One, because I don't know where to get it, and I just don't have a lot of time to explore because I don't want to like dive super deep into Elden Ring where I'm like not looking anything up. So I did look up like a beginner's guide where this guy was like, oh, you can go around do all these things, you can get these different items, you don't really have to fight certain things, you can get a ton of experience and then level up your character and then come back and do some of these other things. And I was just like, dang man, how was I supposed to know that? And it's all about exploration. But like, I haven't played, and I'm like, I haven't bought in the DLC yet. I didn't buy the DLC because I'm like, damn, I'm not beating Elden Ring. If I don't beat Elden Ring, I'm not buying the DLC. Like, there's no point. There's no point for me to buy the DLC if I can't even deal with the stuff that's in the base game. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm trying to like learn and understand this game before I like really decide to like lean all the way into it.
That he's probably right. I can't vouch for the validity of whether or not rolls have less iframes or cover less distance. I didn't test that. But regardless, I think this guy and Vati are right. The game is trying to lead us away from the traditional way that melee has so far been done in Dark Souls, which is fantastic and gets me really excited. This is the biggest upgrade in depth that Souls melee combat has ever had, with the possible exception of Sekiro, but a lot of people don't consider Sekiro a Souls game. Regardless, I'm really excited to get back in there and experiment with it, which is good because happily there's only about a month left before Elden Ring releases.
Oh, this video is old.
But anyway, that's the end of this video. As always, thank you very much for watching.
It was definitely helpful. It was definitely very helpful though, because I didn't know how the posture mechanic worked, and I didn't think about like making like using R2 to do more damage for like stamina damage to like stagger them and stuff like that. Like I just didn't understand what I was supposed to do. I assumed that I just wasn't strong enough to be able to stagger. But I guess it doesn't really have anything to do with your strength or your stats. It's just the amount of stagger damage that it does based on your charged heavies and your charged and your not charged attacks and all the different kinds of things. I don't know. I'm sure there's way more depth to it than I know, but it was definitely really helpful to understand that there's hope and that I need to be fighting a little bit differently, even if I'm not like using magic or using weapon arts or using like getting all this different stuff. There's still stuff that I can do better before I even get into all that, which will make the beginning of the game better because at that point it's kind of like fighting games again, where you're leveling up yourself rather than your character to get better. Same thing with like Monster Hunter. Even Monster Hunter, like you can have all the stuff in the world, like you can have all the weapons and armor in the world, but if you don't know how to fight the monster, then you're just gonna get slapped, right? So even if you have nothing on, sometimes you will be able to fight a lot of these monsters. It'll take a lot longer to kill them, but and even in Monster Hunter you can't see their health bar. So like that's a little bit more, I guess, a little bit more easy in Elden Ring, because in Elden Ring you can see the health bar. You know that okay, when their health is getting low, then you can be like, okay, well their health's getting low, they're about to start doing these other attacks. Their health is getting a little bit lower. I need to be a little bit more cautious and not get hit, especially if I don't have enough flasks or whatever. And then in Monster Hunter, it's like you have to pay attention to how they walk. You like, okay, you got him low enough, now he's starting to limp away, or you got him low enough, now he's starting to drool, right? Like, and then all this other kind of stuff. Like you broke parts, he can't do certain things, or certain things might not do as much damage as they normally do. So I gotta bring some of that Monster Hunter into Elden Ring, because the only difference is like you don't get like direct rewards, I guess, like direct rewards that are going to just power you up. Because like if you kill the tree sentinel and you don't have enough strength or whatever to use the axe that they give you, it's like you can't even use the axe. So it's like you killed them. All you get is the fact that I just beat the tree sentinel. Great. I feel amazing. I finally overcame like this very hard obstacle that was in my way, or not even in your way. You just decided to let it be in your way, and then continue on with the rest of the game. So uh, I think that's really helpful. It'll probably help me going forward. I'm gonna go actually try out some of this stuff and see if I can like fight the tree sentinel a little bit better now, and try to make it so that I'm breaking his posture and getting these critical hits and see if I can like actually do more damage than I normally do with like just single hits and like quick hits and stuff like that. So all right, man. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel for more content like this, for more reacts like this. Because, while I'm playing, I'm trying to learn this game. I'm like waiting for Zenless Zone Zero to come out. I've been playing Wuthering Waves, all these different games. I'm trying to just play them all, and because I don't want to skip anything that I actually want to play just to dive headfirst all in on one game. And that's what my YouTube channel is. It's just you're gonna see a lot of different things on the YouTube channel. So yeah, please, if you got any tips for beginners that are not spoiler heavy or whatever, like let me know. Let me know what I should be doing a little bit better. Let me know like if there's because like I was thinking about, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll pick the guy that has the axe because the axe looks cool in Elden Ring, right? As a starting character, I think it's the hero, and I was like, I don't know because I see everybody using a sword. So like, do axes just suck in this game? Like, do I risk using an axe? Is there things about an axe that are better than a sword? Like, I don't know. So maybe it breaks posture easier or something like that. I have no idea. So I want to check that out because literally everybody I see is always using a sword. I've never seen anybody use like an axe or anything like that. So, all right, I'm going to get out of here. Please do like the video if you liked it. And I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.